Nobody seriously imagined that America and Israel would reach a point where their disagreement would become this visible. For years, the assumption was simple. Whatever America says publicly, whatever Israel does militarily, both are ultimately working for the same page. If Washington criticizes Tel Aviv, it is a theater. If Israel refuses to listen, it is a managed drama. If Iran is involved, then the final script must be already written somewhere between the White House, Pentagon, and Israeli intelligence. That is the basic assumption. But this time, the old assumption does not fully explain what is happening. Because America is no longer operating in the Middle East from the same position of unquestioned power. Iran is not the kind of country that can simply be rolled over. Israel is not behaving like a disciplined strategic partner. And for Trump, for all the damage he has done to the American institutional image, has understood one reality better than many traditional politicians. At some point, a state must know when to stop. This is the real story here. Welcome to Fourth Plus Post English. This is not just about an Iran deal. This is not just about a ceasefire. This is not about whether there will be a photo session in Geneva, or whether Pakistan gets a diplomatic credit, or whether Qatar takes the spotlight. The real story is that old American security model in the Middle East has cracked. America fought, pressured, sanctioned, threatened, isolated, and used Israel as a front line of its regional strategy for decades. But after all of that, it has been forced to return to the same basic point. Middle East has to be managed, and you cannot eliminate all the enemies. And the biggest enemy, Iran. And they have learned that Iran has to be talked to, not destroyed. Iran has to be given space in the Middle East, not just sanctions. And that is why this moment is so important. Trump may be many things. For America, he may be disaster. For Israel, he may become even bigger disaster. But in this particular moment, he has done what leaders sometimes have to do. He has accepted the reality of defeat. He has accepted that the old method is no longer working. He has accepted if America continues to push the region towards direct confrontation, the consequences will not remain limited to Iran or Israel. That is the leadership in its coldest form, knowing when to stop. And that is exactly where Netanyahu has failed. Israel is still acting as if the old umbrella is fully intact. It is still acting as if America will enter every war, absorb every cost, protect every Israeli escalation, and silence every regional reaction. But the war has exposed something very different. America did not behave like the old America. Arab bases did not act the way Israel expected, or America expected them to act. Regional players did not freeze in fear, and the most importantly, Washington itself giving signals that Israel must wake up. When an American president, a vice president, says that President Trump is not your enemy, wake up. This is not the casual language. This is not the routine diplomatic disagreement. This is warning. Talking about Charlie Kirk. See, the meaning is simple. Israel is losing the automatic emotional and strategic space it once enjoyed in American politics. This does not mean that America has become anti-Israel. That would be very simplistic. America will not suddenly abandon Israel, and neither Israel will completely break away from America. But the relationship will change. The old blank check is no longer guaranteed. The old assumption that Israel can do whatever it wants and America will come and will manage the consequences is now under pressure. And once that pressure becomes very visible, right now, once it becomes visible, you see every player in the region begins to move. What is this happening with Iran, Saudi, Qatar, and Egypt? Why is Egypt suddenly becoming relevant? I mean, I can understand Iran, Saudi, and Qatar, or Iran, Saudi, and Pakistan, Saudi, and Turkey. But Egypt, why is Egypt trying to make itself relevant? Because Sisi knows that when the old model will crack, when America is not looking towards Israel the same way, then why is Sisi important in the Egypt? And China, I mean, all of this is watching. Russia is waiting for the openings, China is waiting for the openings. And Pakistan, whether by planning or by accident, has found itself sitting in the middle of a whole new equation. This is why the Iran deal matters beyond Iran. America is trying to lure Iran back into a manageable equation. It wants Iran to avoid rebuilding completely through China. It wants Iran to keep the Strait stable. It wants sanctions, assets, nuclear limits, old routes, and the regional militias to be handled in the way that keeps American system alive. But the problem is that America is trying to do this from the weaker position than before. It is offering Iran space because it has no clear alternative or clean alternative. Iran's assets may be released, sanctions may be gradually be softened. Iran's missile capacity has effectively been accepted as a reality. Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the Iran wider regional network are no longer being treated as something that can simply be erased. America is talking because it has to talk now. Now, this creates a new contradiction. If America gives Iran space, Israel feels threatened. If America protects Israel completely, then Iran refuses normalization, which America desperately needs in this war, after this war, or the post-war. If Iran refuses normalization, oil routes, the Strait, the sanctions, dollar-based pressure, all become unstable. If the Strait is disturbed, the entire global economy feels the shock. And if the global economy feels the shock, China gets the larger opening. So America is trying to balance the two things that may no longer be balanceable: Israel's security obsession and Iran's regional acceptance. That is why this deal, even if implemented, will remain fragile. Geneva or no Geneva, photo session or no photo session, the core deal has already moved into an implementation phase. The serious question is not whether the people sit in one room and shake hands. The serious question is whether America can force Israel to stop disturbing the process, whether Iran can avoid falling into an escalation trap. These are the two questions. Because Israel still has one card, and that is Lebanon, and that is escalation. If Netanyahu continues to create pressure in Lebanon, Iran will be pushed to respond. And if Iran responds directly, Israel and Iran can be dragged into confrontation. And if Strait becomes the part of that confrontation, America may frame it as a violation of normalization. And then the same cycle begins again. That is why Iran is cautious. That is why Pakistan and Qatar are trying to keep diplomatic track alive. That is why Saudi, Turkey, Pakistan and Egypt are moving so quickly after the war. They understand that the region is not just coming out of the conflict, it is entering a new security arrangement. And that is the new arrangement where Pakistan's importance increases. Not because America loves Pakistan, or not because China loves Pakistan. Pakistan becomes important because of geography, nuclear capacity, oil routes, trade routes, Gwadar, CPEC, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and of course, Iran. And of course, obviously, the changing military balance in the Middle East. Once it becomes clear that Israel is vulnerable without the full American umbrella, every major Muslim regional power will start thinking about deterrence differently. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Iran and Pakistan may not become one clean bloc. Their interests are not identical. Their histories are complicated. Their rivalries are real. But compared to the old American-Israeli model, their interests are now more aligned than before. And in that equation, Pakistan has something no other Muslim country can offer: nuclear. This is why Israel will watch Pakistan closely. This is why India will watch Pakistan closely. This is why America will not be able to ignore Pakistan completely. Then this is why China will want Pakistan stable, connected and functional. Because Gwadar has to be functional, CPEC has to be functional. And because of that, Balochistan has to be stable. Iran border has to be stable. This whole western belt, western to northern security belt from Balochistan to Kashmir, exactly that's why it has become more sensitive too. Because in one way, your enemies are trying so much, especially Israel. It will look Pakistan as a long-term project to destroy. See, because when a country becomes strategically important, others do not simply respect it. They try to influence it. They try to pressure it. They try to exploit its weaknesses. And Pakistan has too many weaknesses available for exploitation. This is where the international story comes home. Pakistan is standing at the moment where the world is changing in a direction that could benefit it. Cheap energy from Iran can become possible. Regional military understandings can become stronger. Gwadar and CPEC can gain a new relevance. Pakistan's Middle East inroads can become real. Its relationship with Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Iran can become strategically deeper. China's regional order can give Pakistan space that the old American order never gave. But none of this can be translated into national strength if Pakistan's remain trapped into internal instability. The relevance is not achievement. Relevance is only a raw material. Pakistan has a relevance today. It has diplomatic relevance. It has security relevance. It has nuclear relevance. It has energy route relevance. It has Chinese relevance. It has Irani relevance. It has even Gulf relevance. But what has that relevance produced so far? Not serious FDI, not any investment, not freedom from the IMF, not economic stability, not social relief, no political legitimacy, no inflation control, not even an institutional confidence. That is the strategy. Pakistan is important outside but broken inside. And the reason is not Pakistan lacks opportunity. The reason is Pakistan's internal power structure does not know how to convert opportunity into growth. It knows how to control. It knows how to manage. It knows how to pressure. It knows how to build narratives. It knows how to call people traitors. It knows how to build fear. It doesn't know how to convert relevance into growth. And this is why the internal situation is so dangerous. At the exact moment when Pakistan should be thinking about Iran energy, Gwadar functionality, Chinese routes, Saudi defense depth, Turkey's alignment, regional deterrence, the domestic debate is stuck in false ego, photo sessions, revenge politics, and power engineering. You can look around and see for the people who they are not talking or saying things when they are saying that this whole system will go, this whole mood will shift, everyone has failed. They are talking on behalf of the establishment. When they are saying the government has failed, the provinces have failed, political parties have failed, corruption is everywhere, everyone will be crushed, everyone will be cleaned up, a grand plan is coming, a 10-year arrangement is coming, a new order is coming. But this kind of messaging does not create control, it creates fear inside the very elite structure on which this current system depends. If you threaten your own political partners, they begin preparing for survival. If you tell the chief ministers, prime ministers that they are insecure, they begin making their own calculations. If you say everyone will be cleaned up, everyone starts wondering whether the system itself is about to be wrapped up. And in Pakistan's political history, once the fear enters the ruling elite, systems do not become stronger, they become weaker. The establishment may want a corruption drive, it may want a benevolent dictator image, it may want another constitutional package, it may want a control over NFC, water, provinces, courts, political engineering, whatever. But the real question is simple. Through which system? Through this parliament, through this government, through these provinces, through Pakistan People's Party and PMLN, through caretaker system endorsed by the Federal Constitutional Court, through direct takeover, every path has a wall. If the current government stays, it remains weak. If it's moved, the replacement has no legitimacy. If caretaker is stretched, it cannot, do the legislation whatever the needed or whatever the establishment is thinking. And if PTI is pressured more, they would resist. If government is pressured, they would resist. If People's Party is used, they will use the leverage back. If PMLN is forced, they will become a burden. If PTI is ignored, Khan will return more furious as the bigger elephant in the room. So the legitimacy crisis will deepen. If martial law is imposed, the world is no longer the old world where security state model automatically gets economic support. This is not the Musharraf era. Musharraf had an economic cushion. He had post-war 9/11 dollar pipeline. He had Benazir and Nawaz Sharif outside the country at that time. Imran Khan is still in the jail. He had political system in which America needed a frontline security partner. Today, there is no such cushion. The economy is weak, dollars are limited, inflation is alive, IMF dependencies remain. China and America are competing over minerals, routes, influence. The Middle East is redesigning itself. Israel is unstable. Iran is being accepted. Saudi Arabia is recalculating. Turkey is moving. India is trapped in a Modi's obsession with Pakistan and Israel. And inside Pakistan, Khan is still present. Even in prison, he is still there. That is why direct control is not the strength here, it is a trap. But what we have is something weaker and more confused. An unnatural hybrid arrangement that has neither full democratic legitimacy nor full authoritarian decisiveness. That indecisiveness is the crisis, and this crisis is now very visible everywhere. Azad Kashmir is mishandled through the same old security lens. If protesters are strong, call them foreign funded. If people shut down shops, say they are afraid. If resentment rises, blame India. If India has been involved for a year, imagine now, then what was the state doing to stop it? And if the state has to force shops to open to prove its writ, then what kind of writ is this? The more the state tries to crush public anger through labels, the more it exposes its own weakness. Look at what are they doing in the GB. They can't even form the government there. The same mindset appears everywhere. Look at Punjab, this CCD, or CCD, Crime Control Department. They killed a innocent child. Not just one bullet, 6, 7 bullets. And this case made to media because she, a child, was an Australian national. See, it's not just one officer's mistake. It reflects a structure where force has been normalized, accountability has been weakened, and the uniforms have been allowed to act above the law. See, when the message from above is that results matter more than the process, then abuse becomes routine. And then when people protest, they are told they are anti-state. This is how a state loses moral authority. And at the same time, the economy is being treated through optics, not structure. Petrol is used, celebrations, but the larger cost of living remains. Social media earnings being taxed without understanding that the digital earners can simply move accounts, relocate income, or shift platforms, reducing dollar inflows instead of increasing state revenue. This is all a loop, and that's why I always say that Khan remains central, whether one likes him or not. The issue is not love for Khan. The issue is for power reality. The system has tried to move without Khan, but keeps returning to him. It tried to create post-Khan arrangement, but legitimacy did not arrive. It tried to make current setup look permanent, but every crisis exposed its fragility. It tried to isolate him, but the political question did not disappear. Now, whether formal talks are happening or informal communication is happening with the Khan, the logic is clear. The establishment needs flexibility in the coming days. It may not mean a deal today. It may not mean Khan returns tomorrow. It may not mean anyone has surrendered. But somehow, window has to be opened because the coming months will require maneuvering, not rigidity, but flexibility. If American politics changes after November, if Democrats gain strength, if Pakistan Democracy Act type pressures return, if Trump takes U-turn for its own popularity, if India finds a new opening with the Washington, which it will, Pakistan cannot afford to remain internally frozen like this. A rigid state cannot survive a fluid world. This is why the biggest question internationally and domestically is the same. Does anybody know in Pakistan when to stop? See, Trump for once seems to understand that America must stop before the Middle East burns beyond control. Netanyahu does not understand this. He is still behaving like an over-ambitious leader who may drag his country into a long-term isolation. Even if the Israeli establishment is radical, and all of them are radical, even if intelligence agencies and even if all of them combined want to burn the world, The cost will eventually need a face, and that face will most likely be Netanyahu. And that's why I call him scapegoat. Israel may continue for some time like this, but if America's tone keeps changing and Europe's pressure grows, the political cost will become unavoidable for Israel. Iran also has to know when to stop. If it uses American weaknesses intelligently, it gains regional acceptance. If it overplays the Strait, Lebanon, or its proxy network, it can fall into an escalation trap Israel wants. America has to know when to stop. If it thinks it can manage Iran and Israel simultaneously through old tools, it will create a bigger crisis. And Pakistan's power structure also has to know when to stop. Stop treating every internal disagreement as treason. Stop believing that photo sessions are strategy. Stop thinking relevance is the same as success. Stop assuming that political parties can be used endlessly without consequences. Stop imagining that Khan can be erased from the equation. Stop designing constitutional packages without legitimacy. Stop confusing fear with stability, and stop trying to run a changing country through an old security manual. Because Pakistan is entering a dangerous opportunity. That is contradictory, but it is exactly the moment we are in. The international environment is opening doors for Pakistan, but Pakistan's internal condition is opening cracks for its enemies. If we move wisely, relevance can become growth. If we move foolishly, relevance can become pressure. Israel will look for weak points, India will look for weak points. The UAE may have its own contradiction with Gwadar and oil routes of Pakistan or the energy needs of Pakistan, which will rely on India now. America will look for minerals. China will insist on security and continuity and monopoly over the minerals too, which is a conflict. Irani regime, once protected, can go for its influence or the proxy game in Pakistan too. Saudi Arabia will bargain. Turkey will maneuver. Pakistan has to become strong enough to convert its position into advantage. And strength will not come from speeches, titles, fear campaigns, or controlled media narratives. It will come from the political settlement, economic seriousness, regional clarity, and internal legitimacy. Otherwise, the world will move. The region will realign, Iran will gain, Israel will adjust, America will retreat, China will expand, Gulf states will hedge, India will wait for all those happening, and Pakistan will remain stuck in the same loop. Important enough to be used, too unstable to benefit from it, too proud to correct itself, and too divided to move forward. In the end, this entire crisis will not be America and Iran. It will be ego and timing for us.